Cannon's here and joining us in studio right now. Very busy man ever since he got the position as athletic director at San Diego State. John David, J.D. Wicker, is in studio with us right now. J.D., how are you, man?
I am well. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to spend the afternoon with y'all. Very excited about our new partnership with iHeart and 1360 and all of the other great sister stations. A great new home for Aztec Athletics.
Oh, very excited, obviously, to be part of the San Diego State family. Very excited about a lot of things moving ahead, but we got to get right to it, JD. There was a major announcement today from San Diego State, and I read the first line of the final paragraph saying that San Diego State will not engage in any further discussion with FS investors. They, of course, are the group that have the vision of Soccer City. Nick Stone was in studio with us about a month ago. We asked specifically about San Diego State. He seemed a little uneasy about it, hoping that something could be resolved. It will not happen. So where do we go from here?
I think first off, just looking at where we were, we each had a vision of what we saw in Mission Valley, and that vision wasn't compatible. We're looking for the greater good of San Diego State University, which is obviously an economic driver for the city of San Diego. It's great for, the future children of San Diego that, a strong San Diego State is good. And then also building an appropriate multi-use stadium that works well for San Diego State, something that is appropriate sized, and then we have the ability to grow that in the future as we need to, is because we feel like our football program is going to continue to grow and continue to be successful. And as we move that down the road, we're going to need more seats in the stadium. So really we just couldn't come to a resolution.
JD, was it size of stadium that was one of the biggest obstacles, or were there a number of, for lack of a better term, roadblocks that you guys just couldn't see eye to eye on?
When you start with the stadium, it was, while 30,000 wasn't what we hoped for. It started at 40. They started at 20. Compromise happened somewhere at 30. Ideally, it would have been 35,000 to start with. However, 30 was okay to start with, but then there's two office buildings located in the end zone of the stadium, which made it impossible to bowl that end in so that you could expand. Adding, 4, 6, 7,000 seats right there would be an easy add. Plus, you have two office buildings sitting in the end zone that, San Diego State can't monetize on a game day, and, what's happening in the building and, what portions of that building might be available. Then you've added, now that you have two buildings sitting there and you can't expand it, now you've got a roof canopy, which I think is a good idea. It's a soccer thing, but it's going to help create atmosphere in the building. Well, if I now have to go up to expand, I have to take the roof off, put 10,000 seats in, if that's what the number ends up being, and then put the roof back on top. So it gets cost prohibitive when you have to do that. And the traffic mitigation and the additional parking were also things that we just looked at, and we couldn't make that pencil.
J.D. Wicker in studio with us, San Diego State Athletic Director. I know that you obviously are aware of this, and I am following college football. The landscape of college football almost seems to change annually. The Power 5 conferences, that's where the money's at. They continue to expand. You want to be in that mix. You want to be in a position with the growth of the program, Rocky Long and what they've done, dominating the Mountain West. You want to be one of those schools, I'm sure, down the road that would be in consideration to get into a Power 5 conference, because it not only brings money into the athletic department, it's a huge amount of money coming into the university. When you talk about stadium size, I know that Boise's up there about 38,000. I've said you got to have minimum 38 to 43,000 is sort of my mindset of the minimum of where San Diego State has to be to stay in the conversation to, if that time comes, be considered for a Power 5 conference. What is your vision? Where do you think the standard has to be? Because I'm sure you want this program to grow, and obviously that would be the big leap that could take it to a whole different level.
I'm not so sure that stadium size is a driver in that. It's a successful athletic department. It's success on the football field, 7 straight bowl games. And, our next goal is an Access Bowl, continue winning conference championships and then get that Access Bowl opportunity. Your basketball program continuing to be well, the rest of your sports doing well. But the two most important things is you look to elevate the athletic program to whatever it may be, whether it's, Pac-12, Big 12, whatever conferences look like in the next 10, 15, 20 years in the NCAA landscape, it's two things. It's eyeballs, which San Diego has. I think we're the 27th, 28th largest television market out there. And the second thing is academic reputation, because the people that are making these decisions, it's not athletic directors making decisions. It's not conference commissioners necessarily. It's the presidents of the universities that are in that particular conference or whatever it may be. So they look at the university and they say, okay, we want a comparable university. So that's why, from an athletic director standpoint, selfishly, a West Campus in Mission Valley to grow the university, to help it move, to realize that top 50 public research institution that Dr. Hirschman and others have talked about wanting to be, that's important to me because that continues to keep me in the conversation is conferences look at who they might want to grow with. So we need a strong San Diego State on the academic side as well as a strong athletic program.
JD, if that expansion doesn't take place, and I grew up right behind San Diego State, I've been, running around there my whole life as a kid, and I'm back there now as an adult. If that expansion does not take place, does that really put you at a ceiling as far as that getting into that top 50 as far as academic and research institutions?
Well, we've got 238 acres on campus. UCSD has over 2,000 acres to grow on, and that was a decision that was made back in the 50s to take that land and put UCSD there. So we look to Mission Valley as, okay, minimum 35 acres we feel like addresses what we'll need in the next 30, 50, 70 years for an academic institution to grow that to what we need it to be.
JD, obviously we've gotten support on both sides of this, plenty of it already on the show today. One of the arguments against San Diego State, I'll just play devil's advocate, is the fact that at least this is the public perception, that San Diego State feels that this is owed them, that this Mission Valley property belongs to them, and that considering anyone else is sacrilegious, that you want the land for nothing and just to expand the university. I mean, this is going to come up. Obviously, if this is no longer going along with FS, then eventually I'm sure you're going to have your game plan. How are you going to counter that argument from those that are skeptical?
I would ask someone first to please point out to me when we've ever asked for that land for free. I know I've never said it. As we talked to the mayor and went through all of this, we want to be part of Mission Valley. That's a vision for us to grow because that's our mission. We want to, grow and service the citizens of San Diego. And we've asked to be treated like any other developer in Mission Valley. If that's a 99-year ground lease for $10,000, then we'll take a 99-year ground lease for $10,000. Or if it's paying whatever the fair market value is, well, tell us what that fair market value is, and we'll do that. As we talked about, a minimum of 35 acres, that was 35 acres, and we'll take care of, the development cost of that 35 acres, whatever that may be, if that's infrastructure, if it's off-site mitigations, whatever it might be. So we've never asked for anything for free. We do look at it and we do feel that, the mission of the university is very important. You look at the number of graduates that, we had 10,000 graduates this past weekend. I'm not sure how many of them are going to be working here in San Diego, but there's going to be a lot of them. And there are a lot of graduates in San Diego. So we help drive the economy of the city of San Diego. That's people, earning paychecks and, buying things and their sales tax and, all the different types of taxes that those folks are generating. So we feel that it is important to go out and tell people that, San Diego State growing into Mission Valley is important, and we're not asking for anything for free. We would like to, we'll take whatever deal the city, wants to come up with.
JD Wicker, athletic director, with us here in studio. JD, Kevin Faulkner was so quick with the FS investors, the week after the Chargers made their announcement. And now we're finding out as the stories come out that he was bending over backwards to help FS and give them access to Qualcomm Stadium, and so they could get all their ducks in a row. As it stands now that you've pivoted away from FS, do you see him as an adversary in this, or are you still looking towards the mayor office? He is going to be a huge part in being able to see your dream come to fruition.
We certainly look to the mayor. I mean, this is city property, so it's up to the mayor and the city council to decide what they think is best for the property. And as we've said, we think, a future growth for San Diego State is important. We don't look at, anyone as adversarial. We'll reach out and ask to, work with the city, and, hopefully we've put out there that we think an RFP process that's open and collaborative and, gives multiple, developers or whoever it may be the opportunity to put forward what they think is best and, and go from there.
All right, let's try to find out a little bit about a timetable right now. Obviously, FS is on the November ballot. They gathered 100,000 signatures in 2 weeks. By the way, a lot of those people, because we asked what were some of the things being said to you to sign the signature, and a lot of them were being told that this is going to be the future home of the Aztecs. Now, I'm not blaming FS investors for that. You hire people to get signatures. They're going to say what they have to say to get people to sign because they're getting paid. So I understand that aspect of it. But what kind of timetable are we looking at? Because are you looking for an opportunity to counter their proposal in November? What exactly would be the game plan?
Well, first off, there's only been a request for a special election in November. Nothing's been approved by the city council yet. I think that happens at the end of June, so the city council could determine that, yes, we want a special election with the convention center on it, and then as they have to deal with the initiative, either direct adopt or put it on a ballot, they can put it on the special, or they could say, nope, we're going to put it on November 2018. So there's still, that still has to be, taken care of. I think the first part is understanding, can we get, the RFP process, what that looks like. And I think that's the next steps as you talk about timeline and how we're going to develop whatever plan it may be. But the first step is the RFP process, and when will that election actually happen?
As far as potential development partners, we all know the names who are out there. We know the deep-pocketed individuals who were attached to San Diego State via donations they have made in the past. Have you had conversations? Are conversations ongoing? Have they been ongoing? Is just part of the whole due diligence for San Diego State?
Again, as I've said it multiple times, we've talked to everyone. I mean, obviously, we had a lot of discussion with FS. We've met with, the Manchester Group has provided what their plan would be. JMI has been something that's been out there for a long time, that there have been discussions going back. I know when I wasn't here for the whole Prop C, Prop D, and all of that, but I mean, I know there were discussions way back then as JMI kind of rolled out what they thought. So there's a variety of people out there, but one of the important parts is no one knows what the process is. FS decided to create an initiative to, get the property or to acquire the property. Now the rest of the developers, or San Diego State or whoever, is let's create an RFP process that there is an open and collaborative, that we can talk about a river park. We can talk about market rate and affordable housing and all of the other pieces in a multi-use stadium for San Diego State. And, we would love to partner with MLS. We have 2 phenomenal soccer programs on campus. The men's team was in the NCAA tournament last year. We have some MLS players. Eric Winaldo was a national teamer back in the day, and then our women's program's been very successful. So I would love to partner with an MLS team if that works out. That's a good partnership to have.
I want to get back to the football program, JD, because with the Chargers gone, and we talk about the power of college football, and I'll go back to Los Angeles. When the Rams and Raiders left, there wasn't a whole lot of commotion. I know. I was on the air the entire 22 years. And I said this, the amount of phone calls, unsolicited phone calls I got from listeners saying, hey, Hartman, when are we going to get an NFL team? That would be zero. I never once got a phone call. And a big part of that was the strength of the USC UCLA football programs. Do you believe that the absence of the Chargers and the direction of your program and the way it's going, top 25 finish, the big bowl win against Houston, what Rocky has done with that program, do you believe that you can't necessarily replace the Chargers, but the void left by them could create a golden opportunity for San Diego State to go to that next level?
You know, we've already seen positive movement. We've sold, I'm not sure what the number is now, 1,600 new season tickets this year, and that's almost as many as we sold all of last year, and we still have a lot of sell time to go. As our ticket office folks have talked to people, it's former Charger season ticket holders that are calling that want tickets. And, you know, that's part of it is we put a great product on the field. College football, I'm not sure if it's the second highest rated as far as TV viewership and all of that, but it's pretty close. And Aztec football is very popular in San Diego. If you look at, TV viewership on games we can get ratings on, we're generally the majority of the top-rated games. So San Diego State football has a great place, and we put a great product on the field. We've got Stanford coming in this year, Arizona State the following year, Boise State's on the schedule. So we're scheduling quality games, and Mike May handles our football scheduling, and if we get a couple things worked out, we'll have basically a Pac-12 or Pac-12 type school coming to San Diego for the next 12 years.
Right.
In our non-conference. So, Qualcomm is a bit of a challenge, the stadium as it is today, just because it's so big, it's so hard to create any atmosphere. The video boards we all know what the video boards are. So that's why it's important to then get, that new stadium built that's right sized for the Aztecs, that brings all the energy with the video boards, the ribbon boards, the great sound system. You've got new concessions, all the different premium opportunities that you can do. That's when it'll really take off. And I think it has the opportunity to capture the emotion of San Diego, just like San Diego State basketball did in Viejas.
Does the fact that, people are saying Qualcomm's coming down after 2018, and that might be hearsay. I've never seen it written in stone, hey, that's going to happen. The Padres have reached out and said there's a possibility of using Petco, I believe, for a season. Does that create a sense of, maybe a bigger sense of urgency to get this and to, come running out of the blocks when you finally have a plan based on those timetables?
We have 2 years left in Qualcomm with our current lease. We have a lease extension that had basically been verbally agreed to with the city that is just sitting down at the city right now. And we're hoping that they'll choose to act on that, but we'll see. We've had conversations with the Padres for the 19 season, and, I haven't heard anything otherwise that it wouldn't be beyond that. But our goal would be, to spend as little time in Petco as possible, because you're competing against the baseball schedule.
Yeah.
And I feel comfortable that Ron Fowler, great ownership group, and Peter Seidler, that they're going to get the Padres back where they need to be. So September's pretty easy to work around. We have our schedule done well before you work with Major League Baseball, but then October comes and playoffs, that becomes problematic. So if we can get this, settled out, and the city decides that it wants to do an RFP, and if that can, however that happens, we decide to do an RFP, then the city also has, with CSAG, with the former Charger Stadium opportunity, has a lot of the groundwork already done for EIRs and CEQAs and whatever it may be. So, we could lease or purchase land to start building that multi-use stadium immediately, and have a decent shot of being ready to go in September of 2020 if need be.
I'm sure some people would want to know, if it doesn't work out as planned, if you were to lose out on the Mission Valley property, then what?
That's a great question. we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, again, Qualcomm's going to be available for the next 2 years. If come November, FS were to carry the day or whatever that might be, then we'll have to, look at what our next steps are. Obviously, that would be, we'd consider that unfortunate for us. Is that would mean that football, it would be a football stadium that wouldn't meet our needs,
right?
And that the university as a whole has been shut out of Mission Valley and the opportunity to grow and flourish like the city of San Diego should want it to.
JD, we have, even before the Aztecs came back home, we have a ton of Aztec fans and alums who are listening. What would your message be to them today based on the decision you've made as far as breaking off with FS investors?
I think the important part is that, the leadership at San Diego State wants what's best for San Diego State and the growth of San Diego State to continue to be play an important role in the city of San Diego, and that from an athletic department standpoint, I get one chance to build a football stadium. We get one chance to build a football stadium, so we've got to make sure that professional teams come and go. San Diego State just turned 120 years old. Football program, I'm not sure if we've hit 100 yet in football. I'll be honest. I should probably know that as athletic director, but we're going to be here for a long time. Yeah. So we need to make sure that that's right, that we do that right. And so I hope the San Diego State alums will rally behind San Diego State and rally for an open, collaborative process on developing Mission Valley and making sure it's something that meets the needs of the city of San Diego, that the traffic and those pieces are appropriate. I mean, Mission Valley is a little bit of a disaster right now, when you go down there. So imagine if you build a very dense development and don't do what you need to do, how bad it would be. And I mean, we look at that would impact people coming to a football game. People, can I watch it on my TV, my big 70-inch TV, or can I go sit in traffic? Well, I'll probably just, watch it on my 70-inch TV, even though they have, however 100-yard long video board or whatever it might be that's as clear as my TV, but I don't want to sit in traffic.
Well, you have really nothing on your hands these days, JD. Obviously, you got pretty smooth sailing. At least you had that easy hire at Dutch, right? That was an easy one.
Dutch was fantastic.
Yes.
I was here when we did the original associate head coach in waiting, and that was an easy one to hand off, and excited about the staff. Basically, everybody moved over a chair. We're working through Dutch's contract right now, and we've made all the other announcements on assistant coaches. So we're excited.
John David, JD
So
Wicker, man. We are so excited to be home of the Aztecs. We can't wait to see what's coming up next. JD, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Come by anytime.
Absolutely.